Post-training notice. National First Class Registered Exorcist. Volume 1, Chiwen. Chapter 1. Demolition. Exorcism Group Lead Office. First Class Registered Exorcist Committee. Committee of the Management, Rectification, and Reform of the Yaogwai Civil Office. Exorcism Committee appointed document number 27 2014. Notice for the National First Class Exorcist Registration, Qualification, and Certification Examination, and the Civil Control Revision Program. For all member units of the leading group for the national management and rectification of the Yaogwai organization, the Exorcism Federation in all provinces, autonomous regions, and direct administered municipalities, and the Civil Exorcist Association. In order to carry out the request put forth by the Second Yaogwai Research Civil Conference and the Institutional Reform Committee, to further strengthen the management of the Exorcists organization and to conscientiously develop an active role for the Exorcists in civil peace and social security, the Central Exorcism Group Operation Lead Office has made a decision, put up a new reform plan and management regulations for the Exorcists, adding qualification certificate exam for the national First Class Registered Exorcist, and registering individuals to be given a job based on the certificate. For further details, see the attachments of the registration and the examination. In view of the increasing number of failed exorcisms in the past few years, the program team approaching science will no longer pay reparations nor guide public opinion. The new management system which will come into effect from this very day is as follows. 1. Any unit or individual shall not have irrelevant personnel present when conducting exorcisms and subduing Yao, otherwise, in accordance to the situation's circumstances and consequences, they shall be fined, given administrative sanctions and be demoted. 2. When performing exorcisms and subduing Yao, individuals shall not carry out activities between 6 to 2200 hours. In particular, they need to pay attention to avoid rush hours. The working hours of those in suburban or rural areas can be adjusted appropriately. The unit must first apply to the local government for clearance when performing tasks. 3. For any Yaogwai, it is necessary to follow the principles of first, advise, next, subdue, and then, liberate. It is also necessary to carry out the act of beating the Yaogwai back to its true form without making any inquiries. In order to avoid aggravating the conflict between Yaogwai and the common folk, as well as simultaneously put an end to the malpractice of accepting rewards for the head, use of a fixed exchange rate of the number of yaos being exorcised for monthly allowance and rewards issued to the exorcists by the original provincial unit have been cancelled and adjusted to be under the labor expenses in the personal income tax, refer to attachment 2, for the exact reduction and exemption amount. 4. All exorcist units shall regularly convene to deepen their understanding of the three represents, conscientiously strive to implement China's dreams to achieve the great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation, change their style of work, practice self-discipline, and strive for practical results, so as not to increase the burden of the country. The self-appraisals and the group inspection reports from each province should be submitted to the office of the Exorcism Council in Linjing Lane before November 11. Contact, Shenzhen. Contact details, 101195210711952108. Attachment, National First Class Registered Exorcists Assessment Details. Attachment, 2 Personal Labor Income Tax Exemption during Exorcism and Yao Elimination Classification. Office of the Exorcism Committee. July 2, 2014. Chongqing, Three Gorges, Fengdu County. A gust of wind blew past, rolling up the document on the ground and plastering it on Xiang Qinqi's face. Puzzled, Xiang Qinqi pulled off the document, looked at it and then threw it aside. Another gust of wind blew, rolling up a document and sticking it on the back of Xiang Qinqi's head. Without turning his head, Xiang Qinqi flung out a bamboo stick and pinned the document as it flew towards the courtyard's wall. The 28-year-old, lanky young man leaned down to draw water from the well and crouched at its edge to wash his face. Xiang Qinqi's handsome features were reflected in the basin. He found that he had become tanned again, his hair had become greasy and dirt had collected behind his ears. Day after day, year after year, he didn't know when this would end. He sighed, sticking his butt out in a troubled manner as he soaked his head in the water, held the soap and daubed it all over his head, washing listlessly. On that balmy autumn day, a black eagle spread its wings and flew over the blue sky. In the season where all things were withering, only the colors of the lesser three gorges unfurled layer upon layer. From the feet to the peaks of the mountains, the blue, turquoise, bronze red and magenta were akin to pigments thrown into the mortal world, diffused by the river waters and dyed on paper. The autumn wind swept up the dead leaves, flitting across the three gorges, and falling towards the hinterland of Fengdu. Children were vivaciously chasing each other at the village's entrance, and the Yangtze River that was surging away stretched magnificently to the end of the horizon, meeting the valleys of the three gorges in the distance. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. In the second year of Yongyuan, in the Eastern Han Dynasty, Emperor Huan set up a county which now has a history spanning 1900 years. Fengdu County was bordered by Yuchang of Hubei Province in the south and the 9th district of Chongqing in the north. The river bank was full of jagged rocks, with mountains towering above them in the daytime and the river wind whimpering at night, just as how the uneven scars of passing years carved this ancient land. To the south of Fengdu County, on its border with Yuchang, at the foot of the mountain and surrounded by a chain of hills, was a village called Yingyang Village. Legends said that the eagles of Mount Wu once built nests in the peaks of Shantou, hence the name Yingyang. Xiang Qinqi. The voice of the old village chief called from outside the door. Have you come home? Where have you been? You haven't been home for a fortnight. Oh. Xiang Qinqi's head was full of bubbles, his eyes stung from the soap suds as he turned to answer the door. When no one came in, he subsequently took off his coat, splashed water over himself, and then pulled up a bucket of water from the well. The township government has shown great importance to land expropriation. The village chief said from outside. We have to move. The government has already given enough funds for this project. Fuck. A man's voice complained. We're moving in 3 days on such short notice. I don't even care about resettlement. Where are we gonna go? The village chief launched into a tirade with great earnestness as Xiang Qinqi's ears went deep into the water, humming and buzzing with sound. He unbuckled his belt, stripped naked and began his bath. A 28-year-old handsome, lanky young man, with mid-length hair, tan skin, and as well built as a steed with strong abdomen and firm pectorals. The village chief pushed the door in, followed by the village secretary, a female university student. Seeing Xiang Qinqi bathing stark naked, she let out a shriek and hid away with a flushed face. Qinqi, my boy, you are the most truthful. What say you, will you move or not? The village chief asked. Xiang Qinqi poured the last bucket of water on himself and then picked up the towel. Looking at the village chief, he asked, move to where? Wherever you want to move, the government has the money to make it work for you. The state wants you to move, will you move or not? The village chief said. I'll move. Xiang Qinqi earnestly nodded, saying, if the state wants me to move, I must move. That was what my father said. Good boy. The village chief grinned and went out to let the village secretary register Xiang Qinqi's name. While putting on his pants, Xiang Qinqi shouted through the wall, can we not demolish the house? No. The village chief said through the wall. It must be demolished. This is a government project. No room for discussion. Xiang Qinqi no longer spoke. He put on his trousers and slippers before going out shirtless. There were a lot of people discussing the matter on the stone pavement whilst some were having a row in the village. With a cigarette in his mouth and a bottle of purchased wine in his hand, Xiang Qinqi wandered around and saw someone already brandishing a rod, ready to beat the village chief. Shut up. Xiang Qinqi couldn't help but shout. The villagers were obviously dissatisfied with the compensation for the demolition as they were rudely shoving each other, almost breaking out into a riot. The village chief however roared, "You want to defy this? Ha! Wait for the armed police force to come." Silence reigned in the village. The first one who refused to be conquered made an unreasonable scene and bawled out, "Does this Laozi look afraid of these armed police forces? Come on." The village chief, who was also in a mess, shouted at the top of his voice, "You're still not content with a 400,000 yuan compensation? How much more do you want?" Huh. Someone sighed and said, "It's not easy trying to get through day by day. We can't do anything. We don't have the skills in any particular field either. We can only farm and look for our own way forward." It was as if the Great Wall had been gently prodded and immediately collapsed to pieces before the truth, triggering a chain reaction of weeping and sighing. No one opinionatedly argued with the village chief anymore. What else could they say? Work was infeasible nowadays. Xiang Qinshi returned to his home and poured himself a drink. A white little bird stood on the table, tilted its neck and chirped at him. Xiang Qinshi then threw some meat at it and the little bird stretched out its neck to take the meat before staring at Xiang Qinshi with its big dark eyes. Xiang Qinshi turned around and looked at the red letterhead document pinned on the wall and then shook his head. "What are we gonna do?" Xiang Qinshi said to the little bird. "Where can I go?" "Chongqing." "Where? Tell me, Huan. When did the document arrive? How about getting a side job like them?" The little bird emitted no sound, but it hopped on the table and pecked at the grains of rice as Xiang Qinshi held the bowl. Hearing another knock at the door, he got up to answer it, with grains of rice sticking to his face. "Xiang Qinshi." The village secretary called. "Your ID card has been issued. The name on your card has been set as Xiang Cheng according to your request. Here's your household registration booklet and your bank book. Remember to look for the village chief to sign it for you tomorrow." Xiang Qinshi thanked her. The village secretary added, asking, "What exactly is your job? You weren't at home for a fortnight. You weren't planting on the paddy field either. We couldn't find you at all." "No job," Xiang Qinshi thus said. "Just loafing around." "What about your parents?" the village secretary asked. Xiang Qinshi looked at his household registration booklet and said without looking up, "Dead." The village secretary said, "I know. I asked what job your father used to have. He must have registered one, right? I followed in his footsteps. He also did nothing." Xiang Qinshi replied. This answer, that was quite logical, momentarily rendered the village secretary speechless before she asked again, "Within time, your registered permanent residence will be transferred together with the special remuneration given by the government. Where do you plan to settle?" "I have no idea." Standing in front of the secretary, the 185 centimeters tall Xiang Qinshi had to lower his head to talk to her. "Do you want me to fill it in now? The rules require everyone to declare these details," the village secretary said. "Just fill in the form and hand it in later." Xiang Qinshi took the form and closed the door. When night fell, he packed up his family's things, his parents' photos, and then shifted the locked leather safe box before cleaning the courtyard. Xiang Qinshi crawled underneath the bed and opened an underground compartment and took out a stack of crumpled money. He counted the denominations of 10, 50, 100 yuan to a total of 2003. He sorted them out, flattened them all, and put them in the same crumpled wallet and then stuffed it under the pillow. The next day, Xiang Qinshi went to the village committee and queued up to give his signature, agreeing to receive compensation for the demolition and relocation. The other villagers had also signed and left behind their phone numbers. Xiang Qinshi took his indestructible Nokia and recorded everyone's contacts one by one. The young people in the village asked Xiang Qinshi to come over and take photos together with them. Xiang Qinshi took their borrowed SLR and took photos for his fellow villagers in turn. Everyone took photos in front of their own houses. Xiang Qinshi, who had an apathetic expression on his face while taking their photos, also asked them to take a picture of himself and his house. On the third day, the village secretary came to personally inform everyone that the money had arrived and let them check their accounts. At the moment, it was impossible to withdraw the money because it had to remain frozen for 3 months. The money could only be withdrawn after making sure that no one would return. They needed to move as soon as possible as the project couldn't afford to wait. At last, a photographer came from the photo studio in the county town as the village chief had asked everyone to come together for a group photo at the village's entrance. After the photos were developed, they were given out, one per person. In passing, he told the photographer to add a red border and eye-catching words on it as a souvenir all the villagers of Yingyang. Xiang Qinshi, a tall man standing at the far left of the last row, smiled handsomely yet sadly at the camera, his little white bird perched on his shoulder. 3 days later, the demolition units came and bulldozed their ancestral homes to the ground amidst the roar of machinery. End chapter. Post-training notice. National First Class Registered Exorcist. Chapter 2. Blind Date. Late Autumn. Guangzhou, Tangxia. Zhi Xiaoduo rode his bicycle and turned out of the heavy traffic in the city. Passing through the intersection, he saw an old man on the roadside, selling well-dressed white Yulon magnolias on a stall. As it was already winter, the old man shivered even in his cotton-padded clothes. Zhi Xiaoduo then went forward with his bicycle, bought a 10 yuan magnolia flower and told him to close the stall early. Afterwards, he went to the convenience store and bought a box of meal to eat at home. Going to work, off work and eating all by himself. Back home. Zhi Xiaoduo was wearing his headphones, watching the great Kangxi Emperor whilst laughing and eating his meal. After his meal, he took out the garbage and mopped the floor. Facing the desolate 4 walls of the house, Zhi Xiaoduo bobbed his head to the music as he did the housework and watered the plants. He then took a shower after cleaning up. Looking at his phone, he saw that it was already 22:20. It should be time for him to sleep. Hence, he tidied up the quilt, turned off the lights and went to bed. *****. 40 minutes later, a deafening TV program next door could be heard along with an old woman who was laughing hysterically. Zhi Xiaoduo hammered the wall and roared. "Stop making so much noise." Zhi Xiaoduo clapped the wall and shouted at his last gasp, "It's 11 o'clock." Zhi Xiaoduo had just lay down when a moment later the sound of the TV rose even louder. He still had to go to work tomorrow but the noise was making him mad. He forced himself to go out and hammered at the door next door, rapped it and pleaded until the noise died down, before he finally wearily fell back onto the bed. Having been awakened by the noise, Zhi Xiaoduo couldn't go back to sleep. He tossed and turned in bed. He felt for his phone and then checked through his Weibo, when a call suddenly came. He answered it with a weary, "Hello. Hey, Xiaofish, how are things with that guy I introduced to you today?" A male voice said with a smile on the other line. In the 26 years of Zhi Xiaoduo's life, although he liked guys, he had never fallen in love with anyone. Firstly, he dared not. Secondly, he dared not say if he liked a guy either, and lastly, he dared not just fool around. "Don't say it," Zhi Xiaoduo said. "That guy is already married." "What?" The man on the other line was somewhat surprised. "No, he told me there was none." Zhi Xiaoduo said, "I already felt something wasn't right when I saw him. After chatting for some time, I bluffed and told him that I would also find someone to marry. As a result, he became quite ardent and taught me how to cheat while married. That's what happened." "Alas, that's some weirdo," the man said. "Forget about it." "I'm sorry, I didn't see that coming." "Wang Ren," Zhi Xiaoduo said. "Could you please introduce me to someone reliable?" I have already lowered my standards to what kind of man to ask for. How come I still have no boyfriend until now? I think my standards are not that bad. Is my fate not good? Is this what happens to a bottom like me? Do I have to be a leftover bottom all my life? The man called Wang Ren said, I'll be on the lookout for you again. Have you rented out the room next door? No, Ji Xiaoduo said. That's not important. What's important is a boyfriend. You should find someone who can rent the room first. Wang Ren then said, I know a rich old man from our Shia club, divorced and has a daughter. You want? Why is it a married man again? Ji Xiaoduo softly said. Lying on the bed, he swept his fingers on the photo of his male god, Hugh Jackman, and asked, Is he handsome? He's not bad. Wang Ren replied. He's witty and quite a loving man. He wanted to find someone to have a good time. Ji Xiaoduo, do you think I can be a reliable stepmother? What are you thinking about? Both the daughter and mother have gone to Canada. Oh. Ji Xiaoduo said, Is he bald? Wang Ren was silent. Ji Xiaoduo. Wang Ren, a bit, but it's not so obvious. Ji Xiaoduo, is his baldness on both sides or in the middle? Wang Ren, you'll know when you see him. Ji Xiaoduo, devil knows what I'll see. I'm dying. We'll talk about it tomorrow. Wang Ren, you have so many standards that people couldn't pass them. How can you meet someone then? Wang Ren had to hang up the call. Ji Xiaoduo bewailed that it was indeed hard for a bottom like him to find a partner nowadays. He then fell asleep and had a nightmare where he was being encircled by a bunch of pot-bellied uncles so as to keep him as a paramour, as if a myriad of stars surrounding the moon. Frightened, he woke up early in the morning, brushed his teeth, washed his face, and went to work in a hurry. Workerji. Morning, Workerji. Morning. Ji Xiaoduo greeted everyone with a lethargic expression, took out the review materials and put them on his desk. Hey, the accountant from finance office came over, dragged out a chair, and sat down in front of Ji Xiaoduo. Tootsie. Ji Xiaoduo used a, eyes closed face, expression as he looked at the accountant. This accountant was also gay. When they worked in an architectural design institute, he often addressed Ji Xiaoduo as sister. Ji Xiaoduo initially fought against this several times and had said I am a man, before he finally gave up and let the matter aside. I've found someone for you. The accountant said. Are you interested? Ji Xiaoduo's spirit lifted at once. He sat up straight and said, Do you have a photo? Let me see. While looking at the photos on the phone, the accountant asked, First of all, what are you looking for in a partner? Ji Xiaoduo began to doubt the accountant, who usually just asked him to go abroad and to bring him some skincare products. In addition to this, when he couldn't find anyone to have lunch with, he would drag Ji Xiaoduo along. As an easily stimulated mola fish, Ji Xiaoduo always felt that the accountant had a little sinister. Why are you suddenly introducing me to someone? Ji Xiaoduo asked in a low voice. The accountant leaned back in a throwing hairstyle posture and replied, It goes without saying. Baby, it's almost your birthday. I'd like to give you a present. It would be a good deed if I could act as a go-between, wouldn't it? Ji Xiaoduo, Christ, you really had to phrase it like that. The accountant's attention was focused on the photos he was choosing from as he said, You should tell me what you are looking for first so that I can choose one for you. This cake, however, will introduce you to my personal lovers in the Treasury House. They are all my top quality spare tires. You don't need to fear that problems may arise. He would introduce a spare tire to him. And he also has a lot of spare tires. It's not at all obvious, Ji Xiaoduo thought. Anyhow, since he doesn't need the spare, he'll just give it a thought and contrive the situation. However, as Wang Ren had already given him a scolding, he frankly said, I have no requirements. Aya. The accountant said. You, yourself have so many fine requirements. How could there be none? Zhiziaduo said, I just feel like it. Then tell me, what sort of man would you have feelings for? The accountant said. Zhiziaduo. Are you sure you want me to tell? Zhiziaduo thought. Perhaps his OS was too loud. The accountant slapped the desk and said, Can't you tell frankly? Zhiziaduo said, Are you sure? Okay. My requirements for a man are that he should be over 26 years old but also under 30. I don't want a younger gong. Also, with a height of 178 to 182 because I am 176. He definitely cannot be shorter than me. No more than 150 in weight, not too stout and not too thin. His face should be middle average, definitely not the middle above level, at least not much different from me. An alumnus is better. His monthly income must be approximately 20,000 yuan as it must not be lower than mine. He must not go on business trips that often. It's better if he's athletic, humorous, and knows how to open a topic. Even better if he knows how to cook. Not those who intend to marry in the future nor those who intend to have a sham marriage. Doesn't smoke and gamble. It's better if he's already out of the closet, has a sense of responsibility, kind-hearted, and an animal lover. He must have ideals in life, but not those who are too focused on work either. It's better if he occasionally read books, but not so much about reading the tube cone. At least the poetries of Tang and Song dynasties. Where are you going? Come back up. Zhiziaduo pulled the accountant's sleeve, who had no other option but to sit down once again. Wouldn't I keep him for myself if he was that exceptional? The accountant asked. The two of them looked at each other for a moment before the accountant spoke again. It's decided then. My male god, I'll give him to you. I'll fix the meeting, go and see him tonight. By nightfall, Guangzhou was bustling with many people and the autumn rain rustled in the air. Zhiziaduo, wearing a scarf, sat in the western restaurant as he waited. Yes, I'm right by the window seat. Zhiziaduo said on the other line. Table 10. A man in a suit then sat down and said with a smile, Sorry, there was a traffic jam. It's all right. Zhiziaduo nodded kindly, somewhat disappointed. Was this the male god that the accountant referred to? His hair was in a complete mess and oily, carrying a briefcase in his underarm. He also started shaking his legs as soon as he sat down. The two chatted for a while, when Zhiziaduo said, Chuangur had said you are a great man. Just so. The man said. Are you two in the same work unit? You're a designer. Zhiziaduo replied. The man nodded. Zhiziaduo also asked, What about you? Insurance manager, the man said. Zhiziaduo hummed. When the man opened up, Let me introduce you to our company's new insurance type. Designers actually often stay up late or even all night. You can consider purchasing our accident insurance and medical insurance. Zhiziaduo. The man spoke eloquently for a long time. Zhiziaduo put a smile on the surface as he listened, while there was a volcanic eruption in his heart that soon turned into a fire-breathing dragon and seized the accountant's neck before emitting the raging flames that condensed the wrath of the universe and stars. After finishing their steaks, the man said, I'm going to use the washroom. Anything else? Shall I send you home? Zhiziaduo gathered the insurance documents, nodded as he set forth and settled the bill. Then, he borrowed a pen at the checkout counter and wrote down Sorry I have to go first, and attached it to the insurance contract before putting his hands in his pockets and took the subway home. You could have given it a shot, the accountant said on the other line. My male god was heartbroken. How could you leave like that? No way, Jose. With the subway rocking, Zhiziaduo stuffed his headphones in his ear, and said to the mic, Thank you anyway. The accountant once again said, when he said he would send you home, that means he likes you. Understand? Thanks for nothing. Zhi Xiaoduo replied, thinking he himself should also thank the other party, but it's impossible to take him home and have sex. As the night began, the drizzle swirled in the air and flickered in the lights. Asterisk. Xiang Cheng sat on a big bag in the train's aisle, with his phone in hand, looking up from time to time at the luggage rack. On it was his password leather suitcase. Every jolt of the train made Xiang Cheng's heart tremble. Guazi, peanuts, mineral water. Xiang Cheng turned sideways and squeezed out of the way for the cart to pass. He was wearing dirty, worn clothes, with short sleeves which were originally distinctly unable to cover off his wrists, a pair of warrior shoes, a worn-out cross-country camouflage cap with a few holes in it that revealed his dirty hair, a denim coat and faded black trousers, one blue sock and a black one, and a threadbare sweater. Call this friend when you arrive in Guangzhou. Thank you, Xiang Cheng replied. Brother. The call suddenly hung up. Xiang Cheng opened the back of his phone as he rummaged through his bag for a piece of paper, folded it up, and put it on the back of the phone battery. He pressed his hand at the back of it and restarted again while using his middle finger as a lever to secure the battery. I'm sorry. Xiang Cheng said. There's something wrong with my phone. It cuts off when I'm on call. It's all right. The other party magnanimously said. Fellow villager, hang on. I'll send you his phone number. Xiang Cheng also wanted to ask how to address the other person, but the call turned to a bunch of busy tones. Degur, what time is it? The girl on the side looked up from her bundle and asked sleepily. Xiang Cheng looked at his phone and replied. 10. The girl then lay down again to sleep. Xiang Cheng leaned on one side as he struggled to take a crumpled cigarette out of his trousers. He turned towards the smoking area at the train junction, taking 2 puffs before anxiously looking back at the luggage rack to make sure that his suitcase was still there. End chapter. Post-training notice. National First Class Registered Exorcist. Chapter 3. Spring. A small, silvery white bird sped through the endless white snow drifting down outside, catching up with the train, before it gently pecked at the window. Xiang Cheng turned his head to look out the window, and that little bird flew up high again before vanishing entirely. Xiang Cheng scooted to the side of the window to peek. His lips moved a little, and he said quietly, Go bot, go, don't chase after me anymore. The small bird vanished and Xiang Cheng took off his hat, ran his hand through his hair, scratched his head a few times, and stuck his hands into his pockets. He curled his long legs up, leaning in front of the swaying bathroom, nodding off. At 6 in the early morning, the train had already been on this journey for 21 hours when it arrived in Guangzhou. Xiang Cheng, swept along by the flood of people returning south for the New Year's travel rush, was squeezed out of the train station. Because he couldn't find his ticket, as he was exiting, he was almost locked up in a little black room. After leaving the train station, he heard Cantonese all around him. A light rain was falling from the sky, and at the newspaper stand, the owner was watching TV while warming himself with a heater, causing Xiang Cheng to be filled with confusion as he watched this scene. I want to make a call, Xiang Cheng said. The owner didn't notice him at all. Xiang Cheng raised his voice a little and said, Boss, I want to make a call. Then make a call, the owner said. What are you staring at me for? Xiang Cheng put down his leather trunk and pulled out his cell phone to browse through his messages. Then, according to a message there, he gave a friend of a friend, who was his old acquaintance from the same hometown, had introduced, a call to find somewhere to stay temporarily. No one picked up the phone, so Xiang Cheng could only wait to the side as the owner glared at him. A moment later, Xiang Cheng tried again, but still, no one picked up. He still had $10 left on his phone, the roaming fees were too expensive, so he had to use his phone wisely. Plus, this phone had been used for too many years, and as battered as it was, it sometimes worked and sometimes didn't. Sometimes it would even automatically hang up the call, which frustrated him to no end. Every 10 minutes, Xiang Cheng made another call, for a total of 4 times. The owner stared at Xiang Cheng the entire time, obviously resenting this damned migrant worker standing in front of his newspaper stand taking up space. Xiang Cheng could only give up, and he bent over to pick up that huge backpack that loomed like a mountain, only to suddenly realize, the handheld leather suitcase on the ground had disappeared. Xiang Cheng immediately froze on the spot, before he looked left and right, slinging the backpack over his shoulder, his face filled with shock and anger as he realized that it had been stolen. With quick steps, he walked to a part of the street empty of people, suppressing his rage as he huffed for a while, before lighting a cigarette to calm himself. With 2 fingers clamped around the cigarette, Xiang Cheng narrowed his eyes and sketched out a circle in the air. As if the smoke was alive, it made a revolution in the air, before taking the form of a strange sprite. It circled around Xiang Cheng's body a few times before turning around and flying in the opposite direction. Xiang Cheng turned and sprinted away, still carrying that huge bag that was easily as wide as 2 people. Like a burst of wind, he once again passed by the entrance of the newspaper stand. He crossed the road, just as a private car slammed on its brakes, the driver flinging insults at him. Xiang Cheng, pressing down on the stone railings in the center, vaulted over the railings with a flip and rushed down the overpass, running towards a calm, still alley. 2 teenagers were currently standing in front of a locksmith's shop, fussing with Xiang Cheng's handheld leather bag. Xiang Cheng let out an infuriated roar and pulled out a wooden pole from inside his bag. He rushed forwards, waving it at the thieves, and at that, the owner of the store, who both unlocked locks and fixed leather shoes, shouted, completely unexpectedly, "If you're going to fight, then do it outside." With a kick, Xiang Cheng sent the stall into disarray, but the thieves hugged the leather bag to them and ran. As they ran into the hallway and rushed up the stairs, Xiang Cheng's backpack got stuck outside the anti-theft doors, and he swiftly put the bag down before shouting, "Give it back." The thieves opened the leather case around the corner, and their expressions grew stunned. In that brief span of time, Xiang Cheng had already nimbly flipped over the railing right up to the 3rd-floor hallway. In the dark apartment complex, the thieves rapidly and vigorously appended the contents of the combination-locked leather case onto Xiang Cheng. The white powder inside spilled out with a hua, and it mixed in with some odd chunky objects, spraying all over Xiang Cheng. In that instant, Xiang Cheng grew bug-eyed. The thieves turned and ran, and Xiang Cheng let out an angry roar of despair from the depths of his heart as he rushed forward, grabbed the collar of the thief that had fallen behind and slammed him into the wall. With a dull thud, the thief instantly went limp and collapsed. Xiang Cheng immediately grew dumbfounded, standing there as he panted rapidly, his entire body covered with white powder, which floated through the daylight in the apartment complex, drifting down like snow. Xiang Cheng's eyes were bright red, and as if he had lost all of the energy in his body, he knelt down on the ground, trembling as he gathered up all of the powder. As he continued to shiver, he put it back into the leather briefcase. Outside, the police had arrived, and they shouted a sentence through the megaphone. Xiang Cheng sensed that trouble had come. He lifted his case, preparing to leave. But he hadn't expected that the lock had already been broken, so when he lifted the case with his hand, the powder spilled all over the ground again with a voila. The policeman rushed up to the 2nd floor. Xiang Cheng said, "I'm not a bad guy." Without letting him get in another word, the police took him away. Twilight, in the police station. An officer was recording down Xiang Cheng's ID card, and everyone exchanged looks. "What do you do? What's your profession?" the officer asked. The large backpack was opened, and all of Xiang Cheng's things were poured out. A string of ancient copper coins, a large bundle of red thread, a tube of Zonghua toothpaste, a toothbrush whose bristles were sticking every which way from use, a collapsible stainless steel rod, an umbrella, 3 large stacks of yellowing parchment, a copy of story collections, a copy of selected poems of Dickinson, a pack of multicolored chibi versions of evil warding statues, 2 packs of pocket tissues, a few pairs of colorful underwear, 3 tank tops with sweat stains, painkillers. Yunanbao, a glass bottle filled with boiled water, a stack of red paper where the top 3 pieces had several strange, long-tongued beasts crookedly drawn on them, a supermarket sack used to store food, inside of which was stored half a gin of soybeans, 2 bags of pickled fulling mustard, a few hardened steamed rolls, a snuff box, a cotton bedroll, a tent, a pillow, and a red cloth about the size of a bedsheet, embroidered with many odd, unique yaogwai. I sell handicrafts, Xiang Cheng said. The police lifted the copper coins, studying them closely, as if he was trying to figure out if they were antiques or not. He replied, I can't return the copper coins to you, I need to find someone to appraise them. Xiang Cheng stayed silent, and the officer continued, I'll write you a slip, and if there are no problems, then come back 3 days later to pick them up. I've made note of your ID card already. You gave that brat a concussion with that slam of yours, he's been sent to the hospital. Xiang Cheng asked, where are his parents? I want them to give an explanation. You leave quickly, Ba, the police said. If his parents come, then you won't be able to leave, them demanding medical expenses alone will annoy you to death. Xiang Cheng could only pack up his things, stuffing all of his belongings that he carried with him back into his bag. He slung it over his shoulder and under the curious gazes of a group of policemen, he walked away. When he returned to the apartment complex, Xiang Cheng bought a broom and dustpan from the department store downstairs, but when he climbed up the stairs, he saw that down the hall, one family's door was opened. A middle-aged woman was splashing water down the stairs, using detergent to diligently clean the floor. Xiang Cheng. What are you doing? The woman asked. Disregarding public hygiene, dumping your trash everywhere, do you even have any civic spirit? Xiang Cheng turned and went down the stairs, chucking the dustpan and broom into the trash can, before sending an angry kick at it. He then knelt down in front of the dirty water flowing out from the hallway and kowtowed 3 times in front of the sewer. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. Winter had ended, spring had come, and everything blossomed with new growth. During today's blind date, Zhi Ziaduo's entire mind was almost overwhelmed by how handsome the police officer was in front of him was. The uniform hit him right at his weak spot. What height and weight, what monthly salary and connections. None of it was important now. The officer smiled a little self-consciously as he said, apologies, they gave me a mission last minute, so I came late. Zhi Ziaduo hurried to say, you're called Xingja, right? No worries, what do you want to eat, I'll pay. The officer nodded and looked at his watch, saying, I may only be able to stay for 2 hours. In a bit, I'll see you home, Ba. All right, Zhi Ziaduo replied. I'll tell them to hurry up and bring out the food, no worries, I eat very fast. The 2 of them chatted as they ate. This police officer called Yang Xingja was someone that Wang Ren had introduced to him, and the witty way he talked fulfilled some of Zhi Ziaduo's requirements very well. He also talked about quite a few of the strange things that had happened in the police station, and halfway through a story, Zhi Ziaduo grew bug-eyed over it. And then? Zhi Ziaduo asked. Guess what was in that leather briefcase, Yang Xingja said, with a straight face. You definitely won't be able to guess correctly. Zhi Ziaduo kept mulling over those belongings that man was carrying with him as he tried to guess at what he had inside the leather briefcase. He then asked, why was he carrying pocket tissues? Was he a pervert? Yang Xingja was torn between laughter and tears as he replied, this person wasn't telling the truth. He often trekked long distances through the mountains. Perhaps he was a veteran, but he didn't look like one. The tissues were used to cushion his feet inside his shoes. They're very good for soaking up sweat. Ji Xiaoduo was suddenly enlightened. He then asked, why did he walk? Was it to avoid being stopped and searched? Was it drugs in the case? That can't be, perhaps it was some important traditional medicinal powder? One that he smuggled back. It was his parents' ashes, Yang Xingji said. At first we suspected that he was a grave robber, but he didn't have any equipment for digging up graves, so it was very strange. The bronze coins have been sent for appraisal, and as soon as the results come out we'll know. Ji Xiaoduo pressed one hand to his forehead, completely at a loss for words as he thought, this was really too heartbreaking. In his mind appeared the image of a dark-skinned, dirty street vendor, laying out a red cloth the size of a bed sheet by the side of the road, bringing out his random odds and ends on it, squatting there waiting for people to come by and buy them. After they finished dinner, the two of them walked slowly in the spring breeze under the street lights at the side of the road. The flowers had all bloomed. Guangzhou had always been known as the flower capital, and as soon as spring came, the entire city bloomed with a sea of blossoms, and the spring breeze caused people to feel lazily relaxed. Do you have any plans for the future? Ji Xiaoduo asked. Are you going to get married? As a civil servant, it'll be very hard, Yang Xingji said. I don't want to lie to you, Ji Xiaoduo, you look very handsome, and you're also a very good person. You're the type that I like, and I feel like I've already begun to like you a little, though, lying to you isn't correct either, it's pretty much like this. Ji Xiaoduo's heart thumped, and Yang Xingji said, I'm bisexual, I have feelings towards both men and women. Ah, Ji Xiaoduo said, nodding. You were a straight guy before, huh? Yang Xingji said. Then he asked, no offense, but let me ask you, when did you figure out that you were like this? Ji Xiaoduo said, I've had this feeling since I was small. Does the civil servant system not allow you to be out of the closet? If you want a future, then you can't, Yang Xingji replied. When you reach a certain age, your department superior will begin to introduce you to some people. If you haven't married by the time you turn 30, basically everyone will start to look at you a little doubtfully. Understood, Ji Xiaoduo said. I know. Yang Xingji said, consider it bought. I cannot promise you the future, but at least for now, I'll cherish you properly. Ji Xiaoduo said. I'll head back first, you take care of yourself. From his position at the foot of the building, Yang Xingji took off his hat and waved it at Ji Xiaoduo. Ji Xiaoduo went home and bit the corner of his blanket, when Wang Ren called again. Did today's blind date work out? Wang Ren asked. The sound of the television from next door was deafening, and Ji Xiaoduo rose to slam the wall, shouting, it's already 10. Turn your TV volume down. With that, he rolled back and forth on the bed, saying to Wang Ren, can't you find a more reliable one? Damn, Wang Ren said. Xingji said that he's already sunk into the river of love, so what are you still hung up about? But he has to get married later. Ji Xiaoduo said melancholically. If we date now, what will I do later? Wang Ren said, the future is for the future, don't you know how to make him quit his job, you idiot? A civil servant. Ji Xiaoduo said. And a policeman. How can he quit? You think he can quit just like that? Wang Ren, you can write an anonymous letter to expose him and report him to his superiors. Ji Xiaoduo, you're insane. Alright, I'll stop joking around. Seriously, you should consider it, Wang Ren said. Ji Xiaoduo moaned, Wang Ren, can't you introduce someone more reliable to me? Someone who can live a good life with me? Right now, I'm so thirsty that when I see the delivery man I almost want to go up to him and woo him. Wang Ren, I introduced them all to you. None of them worked out. You said that as long as they're male, you'll want them all, so then why didn't you want that bald one? Zhi Xiaoduo protested. At the very least, he has to be a normal man. Ba. Wang Ren, what's wrong with a bald one? Say, Gage's hairline is currently receding day after day, don't also lump me in with them, alright. Zhi Xiaoduo. Wang Ren replied, whatever, we'll talk about it later. Zhi Xiaoduo, stop being noisy, you guys. Can you turn your TV down? It's already 10:30. Wang Ren roared angrily from within the phone, are you insane, Zhi Xiaoduo? You make 200,000 or 300,000 a year, do you need to live in the slums? Can't you find a more normal area to live in? Zhi Xiaoduo, I want to save up money. If don't have money, I lack a sense of security. Wang Ren, what present do you want for your birthday? Zhi Xiaoduo, find me a boyfriend. Ba. 26 years of living, and I'm still a virgin, how pitiful is that? Wang Ren. Let me be blunt, Wang Ren said. Zhi Xiaoduo, have you actually slept with a man? No, Zhi Xiaoduo said listlessly. I also want to, but I haven't found a suitable one. Wang Ren said, now I'm really curious. Do you little Xiaos want to be held down so much? Does it feel very good? Zhi Xiaoduo, I haven't even been held down before, how would I know if it feels good or not? Let me experience it for myself before I answer you. How come I'm already 26, yet I'm still a virgin? Wang Ren, how about we find someone to let you experience it? The way I see it, don't tie yourself up in knots over this anymore, just let this gag, let me do it. Ba. Zhi Xiaoduo. Wang Ren was only joking around, and both of them knew that they couldn't sleep with each other, otherwise they wouldn't even be able to be friends afterwards. This guy Wang Ren was a die-hard playboy, and even if the dicks of every gong in the world broke off, Zhi Xiaoduo still wouldn't go seeking him out. The two of them chattered for a bit more, before finally Zhi Xiaoduo turned belly up like a mola, and bitterly went to sleep. End chapter.